Encounter is brought to you by the Broome County Council of Churches, where we connect compassion with needs as we inspire growth with dignity. You'll find us in special places throughout the community. For those who remain hungry, we provide meals. For those who are challenged, we build wheelchair ramps. We comfort those who are ill, minister to those who are confined, and we remain an advocate for change and understanding on behalf of every element of our community. Connect and inspire. Encounter the Broome County Council of Churches.
Brothers and sisters, welcome to the Encounter program sponsored by the Broome County Council of Churches. I'm your host, Mark Kimpland, the pastor at the Endwell United Methodist Church. The purpose and the mission of the Encounter program is to highlight agencies, services, ministries in this area that are doing wonderful work. And I have the honor and the privilege in doing this show, being the host or one of the hosts of this show, to highlight those agencies and places and spaces in our community that make a difference. But I get really excited when those agencies are those that are affecting the lives of our young people, our children and our youth. And so I'm excited about our show today, and I'd like to introduce our guests. Our guests are from the Big Brothers and Big Sisters of the Twin Tiers. I'd like to welcome Kyle Lake, who is one of the match support specialists, and also Steve Johnson, managing partner of Rieger Marketing Communications, and recently became a Big. And I'm looking forward to hearing all that you have to share in your story. So welcome to Encounter.
Thank you.
I'm glad you're here.
Thanks.
Glad you're here. Kyle, I'll start with you. If you could kind of give an overview, a synopsis of Big Brothers and Big Sisters, what is it you do? Some of our people that are listening or watching may have heard much about it, and some may not have ever heard of it. So can you kind of just give us a snapshot about what Big Brothers and Big Sisters is all about?
Yeah, so we are a one-on-one mentoring program. We help underprivileged youth in the area, and we match them based on similar interests with our volunteers, our bigs here. And we really focus more on a friendship rather than an authoritarian relationship. We do sneak some goals in there and that are also child-led goals and parent-led goals. We let the children voice what they would like to work on themselves. They're really quite self-reflective and pretty amazing kids. So we do, and so my job there is quite a bit. We interview the littles, that's what we call the little brothers and sisters. We interview the bigs, that's the big brothers and sisters. The interview process for the bigs, Steve can talk about that a little bit too, is quite extensive. It starts off with an office interview, then we check references. Once we get 2 of the 3 required references, we then run a background check on them. We do a state, local, federal, and DMV check. Okay. We also, after that process, as everything is cleared on that process, we then do a home interview, and we meet the people that the big lives with. We check around the house for any safety issues that may be of concern, because safety is our number one issue. And then we send over profiles that we think that would match with their personality and interests, and then we set up a match meeting, and they go out into the community and have fun.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, do you have one question as you were covering that? How long has the Big Brothers and Big Sisters been, of the Twin Tiers, been around? Do you have an approximate number of?
I don't know how long the Pennsylvania. Okay. So we're based in Pennsylvania, Towanda, Pennsylvania, but we also have 2 counties up here as well, Broome and Tioga, and then so I know we've been in this area since 2017.
Okay. I'm always intrigued by that because promoting and getting the word out and such things is, I think, so important and such. So, Steve, how did you find out about this?
Yeah.
That may be a good place to start.
And that's why we're here, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Get the word out.
Absolutely.
I had heard the name, the brand Big Brothers, Big Sisters,
through
the years, and I guess I saw an ad in the Broome the Greater Binghamton Chamber had a newsletter, and it was advertising a info session, open house, breakfast or something. I like breakfast.
Yeah.
So I said,
That was our big breakfast, yeah.
So I'll go check it out. And Kyle and his partner in crime, Shay, they hosted it and just talked a little bit about the program. And they actually had a big brother who had been doing it for a number of years give his sort of testimonial about what it's like to do it. And I was interested. I had been a mentor in a previous church, so I'd worked with like a teenager for a confirmation process, and so I had some idea what that was like, and I liked it. That was 15, 20 years ago, so it was just, I felt a nudge that maybe that this was the thing.
Right. Well, Kyle was taking us through the interview process and such things. I would be interested in your take on that. What was that process like?
It's really rigorous, and for a good reason. I think they want to make sure that both the littles and the bigs, that they have a good profile and a good handle on what these people are about. It took about 2-3 months, and then when we were ready to, when we made it through the process, my little's family came down with COVID, so that slowed it down a little bit more. But we finally got going in February, I think, and so it's been a good 6 months.
Great. Now, I'll let each of you kind of put your slant on this, if you would. How has this impacted you? I mean, how is this relationship, and maybe you've had several along the way and such, but what has it done for you physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually? How has it impacted your life?
Yeah, I know for me, I worked in the corporate world for a number of years. It just it didn't feel right. I went to school for human development. I always wanted to be kind of in the helping field. So there was an opportunity where I saw this job and I said, this looks perfect for me. And then how it's changed me is I don't know if I want to say restored, but it's really given me a lot of faith in humanity. Like, the bigs are just amazing people. They really are. Like, and it makes me be a better person, I think, too. It just, these people are giving so much of themselves. I feel like, maybe I could do a little bit more. Maybe I could help out a little bit more than I have been. Maybe I could be a little more patient. So I think it's been nothing but a positive impact in my life, but I'll let Steve talk about it.
Kyle's really good at it. He's a good match specialist. I think you haven't been doing it that long. You've only done it for
September, I think it started,
So coming up on a year. As far as the impact on me, it, I think, helps me see, we were talking about this earlier, it helps me see through those young eyes again. So being around this 8-year-old takes me back to both when my son was 8, so that's 20 years ago, and maybe even when I was 8, which was 50 years ago, and experiencing, just the joy of life, and seeing it through his eyes. He's such a sweet kid, and he's the first time I went to the door, I knocked on the door, and he quickly opened it, and he was standing right there, and he's like, "Hi, Steve," and it was sort of an instant match.
Yeah. And you both talk about the joy of this, and boy, don't we need more of that in our lives and in our community, and the good.
We do.
That it does restore your faith in humanity, that people do care, and they do want to make a difference. So you've explained how it's made a difference for you. How do you think it's made a difference for the little, for those?
I mean, I think he's always happy to see me, so I feel like that's a good thing. He's in fact, now that school's out, he's like, maybe we can see each other even more, like every day during the. I said, well, I do have a job. I have a day job.
Yeah.
You told me the other day about his grades.
His grades have improved. Now, am I going to take credit for that? No, but I mean, if it hasn't hurt, I guess. Some of his 1s became 2s, some of his 2s became 3s, and he said, "Yeah, and Steve, even a 3 became a 4." So I don't think he had seen a 4 before his last report card. So he's in 3rd grade, or he's graduating into 4th grade. And I think he's already a fairly confident kid. He's an outgoing kid. He's more extroverted than I ever was. And that's kind of cool to see that maybe he can give me some more energy, and maybe I can slow him down a little bit sometimes.
It's a good balance.
Yeah, a little synergy. Yeah. What about your experience, Kyle, with the littles? How do you see their lives being shaped and changed in some ways?
Not so much in Lewis's case, but I've seen others that had a lot of social anxiety, or didn't feel comfortable around large groups or people that they didn't know, and it's really like opened them up. They can order for themselves at restaurants, which seems like such a small thing to us, but it's huge to them. And just being able to like be kids and not worry so much or have that anxiety and like that crushing feeling in their lives.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear that you're dealing with the whole person.
Yeah.
Mentally, sociologically, socially, all of these ways in which you're making an impact. That is awesome.
And we get to be kind of a neutral party, so we don't have that baggage maybe that a family member might have, and he can say anything he wants to me, and we have great talks just when we're driving around. He sits in the back seat and I sit in the front seat, and I used to find that's when my kids would open up too and talk, and so we just talk about what's going on at school or what's going on at home.
Awesome. Friends, our guests on this show are Kyle Lake. He is a match support specialist for the Big Brothers and Big Sisters of the Twin Tiers, and also Steve Johnson, who is a recent Big and has a little brother in this program and such. Let's talk a little bit about the requirements. Let's say there are people watching or listening to this program and such, and maybe like Steve thinking, I've heard about it. Maybe like to dive into this. What are some of those requirements or things that someone would be thinking about to do what it is to be a Big?
Sure. We do require that you have a reliable mode of transportation, because you are responsible for picking up the little and dropping the little off. It really isn't a huge time commitment. It's only 4 to 8 hours a week. I'll repeat it. It's 4 to 8, not 48.
Well, that's per month.
Per month, sorry, not per week. Okay, thank you, Steve. Okay. So even less. So you can look at it like 2 hours every other week. You can go to a movie. You can go to a park. When the weather's not so nice, you could go bowling, roller skating, all sorts of different things. Whatever you're really into. We have a lot of matches that are into like crafts and arts and things like that, and that can be done all year round, because around here the weather isn't always
never
great.
know.
But so
yes. So how do you organize those, Steve? Like as to, let's say you want to do something, and do you plan that with a family? Okay.
So in my case, he's 8 years old, so I'm not going to be texting or calling him, so I call or text Dad, and Dad will let me know his availability on certain weekends. He's with his Lulu. My little's handle is Lulu because the dad is Lewis. So Lewis will say, well, Lulu's going to be with Mom this weekend, so how about next weekend or a weeknight? So we just text. He's really good about communicating, which is huge. It's a big part of making it work. And I would just say, it was the first 6 months we kind of been going. 2 or 3 things a month, I would guess. Average, I'm with him for 2 or 3 hours, average. So that 4 to 8 hours a month is a good number. I get a gauge on what he's interested in, and I know what I'm interested in, and we try to find a fit. I got a whole list of things that we've done. So
such as?
Well, we started with the Binghamton Bearcats, and this was a group outing. So Big Brothers, Big Sisters once a month, is it?
That wasn't even a group outing. That was Andrea had like spare tickets and asked if we could ask some people to go.
Right.
So
it was sort of an informal get together.
Okay.
Lulu met Tashim at that basketball game, and they've become friends. So they look for each other at other events that come up. It was funny because Maurice Taylor is the director of the pep band for the Binghamton University Bearcats. and Lulu saw him from way up high as we walked in, and he saw him down there, and they waved at each other. He said, "That's my bus monitor. Hey, Mo." And so Mo motions him down to come down on the floor and direct the pep band. He stood behind Lulu, and he showed him, if you go like this, the band will play loud. If you go like this, the band will play real quiet. So here's this 8-year-old kid directing the pep band.
That's awesome.
It's just a big kick.
That's awesome.
That same day, we went to visit my son-in-law, Trevor, who's a Binghamton University police officer, and he got to show him the police car and the sirens and the lights, and he took him inside and he handcuffed him, and he showed him the whole police station. Skate Estate, that was a formal outing.
Yep.
We went and he roller skated and he ate a ton of pizza. I took him to a maple farm in Vestal, which I didn't even know existed. I saw something about it. Sugar Creek Maple Farm. Got the tour. He was fairly unimpressed with that, but he got some maple syrup at the end. Yeah, it's all good. Lewis Sr. and I took him to the SpongeBob musical. Now, I wouldn't be going to the SpongeBob musical on a normal Sunday afternoon, but it was great. It was, again, it reminded me of when I took our kids and when I, had an 8-year-old. Swimming, he loves to swim. He's a little fish, so we went to the Riverwalk Athletic Club where I go. Game night was another organized activity. The Southern Tier Community Center is kind of a home base for a lot of these events, and they had just games and snacks and get to know each other. I like to read, so one of his weaker subjects is reading and comprehension. So I said, well, let's go to the library and we'll see how it goes. And so we pulled out some books that he could relate to. Like, he's a big worldwide wrestling fan, so we talked about we read books about wrestling. We read books about cars. He loves cars.
Great.
And he read to me, and I read to him, and we spent an hour at the library, and then we went to McDonald's. Then there was the meal packing event.
Yes, I remember that.
Through
Yes.
Endwell United Methodist Church does this Rise Against Hunger meal packing of 20,000 meals for 16 countries or something.
Yeah.
Well, Lewis was a runner. His job was to run, and boy, did he run. I think Mark got to witness that. Back and forth. Yes. We went for a hike, the IBM Glen. That was a handful of bigs, handful of littles, hiking through nature. So,
And if I may interject, that
please.
was your suggestion, and the bigs are great resources. They have lots of ideas because we're only 2 people up here, and you guys have been great, like bouncing ideas off each other and being great resources. So I just wanted to thank you for that.
I appreciate it. It's one of my favorite places, and I thought maybe some other kids would enjoy that.
Yeah.
Rumble Ponies game last week. Big Brothers Big Sisters was actually the sponsor or
Week Here Wednesday. Yep.
part of Week Here Wednesday. So I don't know. Lewis might have watched 1 inning, and then he played on the big slide and the big bounce castle for like hour and a half on end with Tashim. So they had a blast.
That's awesome.
And I was happy to just hang out with them. And
great stories, great experiences.
he makes friends quickly. And,
Yes.
at the end of the game, Tashim left, I think, a little earlier than we did, and he said, hey, I want to say goodbye to Lewis. So he called Kyle's cell phone, I think.
Yeah, and Jerry gave him her phone, and he called me.
And he said, hey, Kyle, tell Lewis I said goodbye.
Isn't that awesome? Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
Friends, we have the great fortune of being with Kyle Lake and Steve Johnson from the Big Brothers Big Sisters of the Twin Tiers. What's the biggest blessing in doing this for you? What's the greatest gift? Understanding, epiphany? You can take that question wherever you want to, but what have you gotten back that's been just, that you probably wouldn't have if you didn't do this?
Do you want to go first, or you want me to?
That's a tough one. I guess.
I think there's a lot. I mean, it's hard to pick one.
Right.
I think just seeing kids that when you first met them weren't happy, and just seeing them happy.
Yeah.
It's going to sound corny and cheesy, but it's really true.
Yeah.
It's just, I've worked with kids for a number of years, and it's just, when a kid's sad, it just makes you sad, and being able to bring joy to them in some way, even if it's through somebody else, is something that's huge.
Yeah, I would say that Lewis sees the bright side. He's a glass half full kind of kid, and I'm not always that way, so it's nice to be encouraged by him, and it just gives me energy and maybe put some wind into my sails that wasn't there before. So that's a blessing. Yeah. He's an Energizer bunny.
Yeah. Well, you have the unique sacred opportunity to see them grow in so many different ways too, in lots of different ways, and that's a privilege to be allowed into that process, which is neat.
He got at the basketball game. They play the music, and normally I would just sit there and go get some popcorn. He got me dancing in our seats.
There you go.
We're dancing at the basketball game. He's teaching me songs in the back seat of the car, so we're actually singing together, and it gets me out of my comfort zone. It's different from working with adults, working with screens and technology all day. It's a great change of
Awesome
scenery.
Let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about the agency and what you're doing, and maybe some of the needs. Part of this, of what I do on this program, is to help you promote and to make our community more aware of what's happening. So what are some of the current needs that the agency has right now?
Well, we have 40 little brothers and nearly 20 little sisters that are looking for their bigs. It's really hard, not only because we have to find the right person and make sure that they're safe, but we also want a quality person. We don't want quantity. I mean, there is that need, but we also need to make sure that everybody's safe, everybody's happy, that we can trust these people, because these parents are trusting basically a stranger with their children. The first 3 meetings are to be out in the community, but after that they are allowed to go back to the Biggs home. So that's a huge thing.
Sure.
And the trust that these parents have, they know that their child's lacking in some way, shape, or form. It could be that they're a single parent. It could be that they're from a same-sex marriage. It could be that they're from they're not able to give their parents or give their children what they need. So then we have these wonderful people that step in and help out. And I just the whole thing is just kind of beautiful, because the trust that the parents have to have and be open to, hey, what I'm doing is not working. Maybe this person can help me. I think that's huge.
So right now, one of the biggest needs is for more bigs, quality bigs, to be with the littles then.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you this. I would imagine, and I don't know, that's rule number 1 of doing this. You should never ask a question you don't know the answer to, but I'm going to.
Sure.
I would imagine sometimes it doesn't work out.
Yeah. We've
What
had
happens
that. If the big wants to be rematched, we'll try again. We know that these things they're not going to be flawless, and they're not going to be perfect. But a lot of times patience is needed too, just to get to know each other and find out what makes the other person tick, or how, if they don't like something and the person is used to doing that, and they don't even realize that it's bothering them. That's why I'm there, though, because we check in with the bigs every month for up until a year, and then the parent and the little every other month, to make sure everybody's safe, everybody's happy, nothing they're doing is irking the other person. It's getting to know somebody truly, and there's going to be things that are little bumps in the road, you know?
And they stick to that. That is a monthly commitment, an interview. It's a 15, 20-minute interview, but just to check in and make sure everything's going okay. So, I think it's great. I mean, you're a father, Mark, you're a father, I'm a father. We wouldn't want to trust our kid to somebody who was not trustworthy.
I am sure that there is at least someone, if not a few someones, listening to this program, whenever they're listening to it and beginning to think, I might be able to do this. This is something that I might be able to wrap my spirit around. How would one begin that process? How would they begin that involvement? What would you suggest?
Sure. I mean, you can just put in Big Brothers Big Sisters in any search engine on the internet. You can also give me a call if you're local at 607-766-5681. And I do urge you, if you're not even in the area, you can just Google it or search engine it, and it will. I bet there's an agency in your neighborhood that you can connect with and get set up with.
Yeah. Let me ask this: if there was one thing that you would tell that person who's contemplating, thinking about perhaps making that call or going to that search engine, or you even just starting the process is a big step. Is there something that you would suggest to encourage them to do that? Is there something that you could share with them that you've learned along the way to help prompt them forward? Is there something you could share with them about that?
It's like any volunteer activity. It's up to the individual. I mean, like I said, I got a nudge. I felt something calling me to pursue it, and it's a great program. I'm really impressed with the communication, like I mentioned before. And if you call Kyle, he picks up. If you text Kyle, he'll get back to you. It's if you're looking for a chance to make a difference in a young person's life, it's a great way to go.
If I'd be, you don't need to be like a superstar. You don't need to be a counselor.
Right.
Yes, we want you to be a good person.
Yes.
But you don't need to have any special skills or anything like that. You don't need to be an expert on like trauma or anything like. You just need to be there. Consistency is huge in these kids' life, and they lack it a lot.
You don't have to be a tutor. You don't have to be a coach. You just have to be a friend.
Yeah. You got to want to make a difference. Yeah. That is. I traditionally, we have about a minute left. I traditionally want to have the last word be yours. So if there's any nugget of wisdom or inspiration that you want to share with our listeners or viewers before we wrap up.
I was just going to say, just don't be scared. I think we just touched on it too, but I mean, just come talk to me. See if it's something you think that you can do, or even if you have an inclination that maybe you want to do it. Just reach out to me and we can talk.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Steve?
No, they make it easy. It's like I say, if you're feeling that calling to do something like this, it's worth at least having a conversation with Kyle.
Awesome.
It's been great.
Friends, I want to thank our guests, Kyle Lake and Steve Johnson with Big Brothers and Big Sisters of the Twin Tiers. Thank you for your work, your diligence. And if you are contemplating being a part of that, please reach out to them. It sounds like a wonderful program, and I know there's people that are watching or listening that will reach out to you. So thank you so much for being a part of the Encounter program. I appreciate it. Brothers and sisters, I hope and pray that God will continue to bless you so that you might be a blessing to others, and what a wonderful way to do so through the Big Brothers and Big Sisters of the Twin Tiers. Have a blessed day.